your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas?
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a seventh-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number one overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a tape that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's not, though. There were two perfectly rated quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
1 hour down, hour number 2 now officially underway. And also, like waking up here on the right side, which is what I like to do on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Ranieri, Donnie right side. It's how we get down to business. But sometimes, Joe, when you wake up, you say, you know what? I'm feeling refreshed. It's May 1st. The weather's getting better here in the Northeast. Major League Baseball season now officially underway, where you're not worried about 32 degrees and, snowy conditions. You could probably look towards more balmy conditions, which is great. But let me ask you this question. Waking up in the morning in Dallas for Nico Harrison, does he feel good today? He's like, you know what? I'm going to take another press conference today. This time I want it on camera to explain exactly why I got rid of Luka Doncic. Does he wake up feeling a little bit better today or no?
I think he knew all along that, whatever it may be, and we've always said it, Donnie, right? They had to have gotten to a point where they just could not trust Luka to do what he needed to do in order to be the best version of Luka. I don't think that was the best version of Luka last night that we watched in Game 5, was it? So if I'm Nico, I've got to be like, this is what I'm talking about, guys. Good luck, LA.
Yeah. You know what we have to do also with the NFL draft, too, because we talked about, Jeff Albrecht and apologizing and the fines that come down. Would it be great if every year the NFL draft fell on April 1st? Like, then it would be like, hey, look, it's April 1st. What do you want us to do in the NFL? Like, pranks are going to happen. Calls are going to happen. It's just a day. And we all laugh it off at this point. But understand this, too. Like, what happened? Like, the NFL's protocols. Like, what protocol has to change? Like, as we talk like nuclear codes, like you need 16 codes to get into that same email just to check the phone number. And can you imagine on draft night, hey, call Arch Manning up. You have 30 seconds to get that code and give him a phone call so we can draft a guy. I don't know what the third code is. Help me out. Like, what is the protocols that are going to change? Only the owner gets the actual email? Or like when you're watching for like the Oscars, you have the watermark, like we know exactly where that leaked out right now. Like, how do you even do that?
Yeah. You're going to have a guy with a briefcase, handcuffs to his wrist, that's just going to throw it up on stage, and it's going to have a laptop, and you're going to make a Skype call. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we FaceTiming people now? Like, what is going on? Like, it is not in the scope of things all that important because, Donnie, nobody outside of a very small group of people would have had access to any of that information anyway. So, I mean, what are we doing here, NFL? Unreal.
Yeah, a little bit later in the show, we got to get Mark Zinno's take on this. And without knowing Mark Zinno's take, what do you think Mark Zinno's take is here on the whole scandal there with the Atlanta Falcons that he covers?
I will go out on a limb to say Mark does not agree with the fine or the punishment or the entire press conference or anything else that is being made of this at this point. I could be wrong. He might be sympathetic to the league. I don't think
Well,
so.
could Mark be down in Flowery Branch today with a sign held up saying punishment not enough for Ulbrich? We'll find out a little bit later in the show, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But it is May. It's going to be May. It is May right now, and it's time to celebrate with Major League Baseball season, which, again, we're 1 month down. We see a lot of teams here that we expected to be good. Some teams trying to fight and say, hey, let's get our respect. Other teams like the Colorado Rockies are exactly who we thought we are. And that's from Dennis Green saying, yeah, they're a really bad team. But if we look at the odds to open the Major League Baseball season, which means opening day of who we thought were going to win the World Series, at least the FanDuel Sportsbook pricing those odds. Dodgers, Braves, Yankees, Phillies, and Mets, and Orioles here. So if we start with that equation, you said Dodgers, yeah, really good. The Braves starting to get it together. The Yankees having a good season, and Aaron Judge hitting over 400 in the month of April. I mean, get out of town. What does he have in store for the rest of the spring and the summer? The Phillies hanging around. The Mets, hey, look at that. And then the the Orioles. What is up with the Orioles, man? Get it together, Baltimore.
Call me crazy, Donnie, here, but as I'm looking at this list here, should we just engrave the trophy with the Dodgers at this point? At that price? Should just engrave? I mean, what else is there to do at this point, really?
Yeah. That's it. By the way, like the Dodgers themselves, and talk about like the landscape of Major League Baseball, because I saw an article got retweeted on X, and I find it interesting. Like, can you imagine a sport in America that has the Dodgers with like a $300+ million payroll in this major sport, playing a team with like a $60 million payroll? So we'll start here. Like the Dodgers, you're right, are the best team. As long as they don't get devastating injuries all the way through, they will probably win it. But how do we get so far down this rabbit hole where you have a team that's like 10 times the buying power of another team? How did we get here, and how does it last? Because basically, you saw what the Dodgers did last year. Spent even more money this year, deferred salaries, and if they win it again this year, are we headed for a shutdown because of how good the Dodgers are and how they are manipulating the salary cap?
Well, what we're getting to the point, Donnie, is that in a 162-game season, we have such a loaded team that can afford more than any other team that we are praying guys get hurt in order to give somebody else a chance that, all of a sudden somebody goes down with an injury or a couple of guys with the pitching. Like, you have to actually hope for terrible things to happen to that staff in order. Otherwise, if they're healthy 162 games, not only are they going to win more games than anybody else, they're going to run the table and win everything, Donnie. They are that much better than everybody else talent-wise.
Yes, and also I always explain to people as well, it's like, hey, look, the Dodgers opening day are the favorites to win it. They have the most talent. They're supposed to win it. But understand, their ownership group does not care about payroll, does not care about going into the luxury tax thresholds this year or getting any penalties, has the best prospects in baseball every single year because of how much they invest in their farm system, in the Latino community there, in the Mexican community. They always have the best scouts down there taking the best talent out. So they can make trades at the deadline to get all-star pitchers and all-star counterparts here. It's interesting to me, like, where we line up in the future, where, again, baseball is a good business. Like, the Marlins can go out there with a $60 million payroll, not get 3 fans, and be one of the most profitable teams in the league. That's an issue at that point. But you can't fault the Dodgers for spending money. But I think in the next couple of years, you might be looking at a reckoning if the way they spend money continually looks like it's going to be an easy victory World Series after World Series, and we'll watch that play out. But if we are looking at the World Series market, Joe, right now, the Dodgers, that plus 240 price, well ahead of the New York Yankees, the New York Mets, the Braves, and the Philadelphia Phillies. If you were looking at teams based on price points here at the FanDuel Sportsbook outside of the Dodgers, who do you lean towards?
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing, right? The Braves, the Mets, and the Phillies are going to devour one another. Is that fair to say? And I don't think we've seen the Braves' best yet because they are still getting working guys back from injury. So the Braves, I think, not a great start to the season, but given the circumstances, I think they've rebounded well. The Mets are on fire, but the question is, did the Mets bullpen overperform in the first month? Can we count on the Mets to keep this going through the rest of the season? If not, I think you've got to look at maybe the Cubs or the Padres as a long shot opportunity here, Donnie.
Yeah, the Mets are interesting to me, too, because they're playing great baseball right now, and you can't take that away from them. But also, it's not as if, like, when I look at, like, the Phillies rotation, like, you have names up there that say, okay, the expectations are high. You look at the Mets, and again, I like Clay Holmes, but he's still Clay Holmes, Tyler McGill, Griffin Canning, David Peterson, Kodai Senga hasn't been all that great as well, where you wonder where that's going to fall off. Now, granted, a couple guys like Frankie Montas and Sean Manaea that you're waiting to get back, but it's not as if you're waiting to get back Clayton Kershaw in his prime or Roger Clemens in his prime or Garrett Cole in his prime, non-injured here for the New York Yankees. I'm interested to see where that goes, but there's a lot of talent. But the one thing we do know about Major League Baseball season, Joe, it really is play your best baseball in the month of September and get hot for the playoff run, and maybe that's what some of these teams can do. The Phillies certainly made a brand of that. You don't want to burn out too early, but the Dodgers, are they ever going to burn out? Like, everybody gets up to the plate expecting extra base hits and doubles and home runs, and away they go. And they're not even playing their best baseball right now, and still we feel it's an easy walk away to a championship. More Major League Baseball talk in hour number 2. This is The Early Line, and we'll be right back.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
It's a bunched up American League right now at the top of the standings as we re-rack the odds market here at the FanDuel Sportsbook to who could possibly win the AL pennant. Before we get to the odds themselves, let's take a look at the standings. And if you woke up today like, it's probably going to be the Astros, Yankees, one of those power-laden teams. How about the Detroit Tigers? Best record in the American League at 19-12. You know who's in second right now? That's the Seattle Mariners at 18-12, followed by the Yankees, Guardians, Astros, and the Boston Red Sox. The Kansas City Royals at 16-15, the last of the teams above 500. Below 500, that's the Rays, Jays, Twins, Angels, Orioles at 12-18, and there are those Chicago White Sox at 7-23. So looking at the standings, that's how it plays out. But the odds market, Joe Ranieri, just a little bit different here. The New York Yankees sit there at a plus 310 price. The Tigers at a 7-1. The Rangers 7-1, followed by the Red Sox 750. It's early. We're 1 month in, But how about those Tigers and Mariners? First place here.
Yeah, and again, I think through 1 month, Donnie, I don't think there's a ton of surprises thus far. Don't forget, Detroit was a very trendy underdog this year, right? To be much better than they were a year ago, especially with, Skubal leading that rotation there, the way they can hit the ball. There was a lot of love for the Tigers. I think the Rangers have underperformed, to say the least, as they certainly aren't hitting and are dealing with some injuries here. It's not been a great start for the Rangers. And the Red Sox, we talked about it earlier. Red Sox, another one of those trendy picks preseason. So far, I think the jury is still out on what the Red Sox ceiling truly is this year. They got some talent, but are they going to put it together for a 162-game season? I still have my doubts with it.
How do we feel about the Mariners, too? Plus 850. And again, these aren't the World Series prices. This is just to win the American League, which means you have to get to the World Series, then win it after that. 18-12 in the season. The one thing we've always known about Seattle, they will have that young, talented frontline pitching, but the hitting sort of doesn't live up to it. On a day-to-day basis, I check out some of those numbers here for the Mariners, looking better and better. Is that a fluke that they're up there higher? They'll be in that wild card race, but you maybe just don't trust them to actually win the pennant once they get there. When we're always taught to believe, Joe, that once you get to the playoffs, pitching does win.
Well, it does, and they better hope they get Logan Gilbert back healthy, too, who's on the IL, who was by far the ace of that staff. So, he's got some elbow issues there, inflamed elbow issues. They're hoping a little bit of rest here, and he'll be fine. But that would be a huge loss if it's anything more than what they're hoping it is. But you added Arozarena. Cal Raleigh is hitting the absolute cover off the ball. You got Rodriguez. You've got guys can do it, but the one thing we can count on Seattle, Donnie, is that come the trade deadline, they're going to be maybe one pitcher, they're going to be one player away, and they're never going to go out and spend any money to reinforce them and give them a shot of actually competing with everyone else.
And here's the thing, too. You have to look at the pennant. It's not best regular season, which means like after September, okay, that's the pennant. No, the pennant is you make it into the playoffs, you win the American League in the playoffs, and then you advance to the World Series. The reason I bring that up is you take a look at the Baltimore Orioles. So disappointing. And second to last right now in the standings for the American League is those Orioles. 12-18 on the season, 3-7 in their last 10 games. But you look at the price point there, it still is a 14-1, which is manageable. Do we feel that the Orioles are just underplaying what their capabilities are so far this season? Or is that 12-18 really a microcosm of this team really isn't that good?
Well, they've also got decimated their starting rotation with injuries. I mean, this is about as makeshift a rotation as we have seen. And the bats, they're just not hitting like they did a year ago to compensate for the lack of starting pitching. They have been getting killed early in games, and then the bullpen is not good enough to be able to hold anybody, and the bats aren't hitting. It's been a recipe for disaster for Baltimore. You hope that they can get some guys healthy, they can get them back in there, and things will level out. But right now, the story for them has been that all those injuries to the starting rotation, it's just not been a good scene right now in Baltimore.
The Yankees are the prohibitive favorite right now at FanDuel. That's a plus 310 price to take down the pennant. So I'm going to ask you this question. Would it be right now, Joe, the Yankees or the field for you in the American League?
Oof. It's still the Yankees to me, although rolling out Carlos Carrasco every fifth day doesn't really make me warm and fuzzy saying that here. But the reality is you've got a possible Triple Crown winner. I mean, Judge is out of his mind. Everybody else around him is also hitting. I mean, they are truly showing the Bronx Bomber name here. And, maybe you don't need all of that pitching if you're going to score 11 runs a game, Donnie, which the Yankees are more than capable of. So, yeah, I would still lean towards the Yankees over the field, but my goodness, I got to see something else from the star. I need another starting pitcher somewhere along the line here at the trade deadline.
Yeah, we always talk about like contenders, Joe, and pretenders out there. And again, there are some quality baseball teams here in the American League. But when you look at the Yankees, like, well, I don't think they're that good. And I always play that off the saying, well, who else are you going to pick then, Donnie's like, do I want the Red Sox or the Astros or the Guardians? Like, it does feel like the Yankees are clear there as long as they can stay somewhat healthy after getting that start to the season, which losing Garrett Cole. So if there was one contender that you feel can turn and give the Yankees issues here down the stretch in Major League Baseball season or possibly independent? Who would maybe a contender or two that you look at say, you know what, maybe not playing great right now, but they might be there in September?
I'm still a believer in the Rangers. I think they certainly, I mean, a couple of years, what are they, a couple of seasons removed from a championship here. They've got, a great manager in Bochy who's been around the block. I think if they can get healthy and they can get some guys back, then yes, I think the Rangers would be a team that I'll look at of the West more so than the Astros or Seattle for sure.
Yeah, we'll see the Kansas City Royals here. 16-15 on the season, just above 500. 8-2, however, in their last 10 games. The Twins underperforming at 13-18. You just pencil them in as they're supposed to be the favorites in the Central. The Orioles we worry about. The White Sox we're not worried about at all. But one of those teams that I do think is fun on a day-to-day basis, and we'll talk a little bit later about them as well, the A's. Not because they're above 500, 16-15. They actually have a pretty talented 1-9 roster. The pitching, but the ballpark they play in, absolutely spectacular to handicap on a day-to-day basis because we used to never get runs in Oakland. Now we get runs every day, it feels like, in Sacramento. But the Yankees certainly the favorites, even if they're not technically in first place right now in the American League. More talk next. The awards markets. Let's get caught up right here on the early line.
Think that there's something to the fact that they blow all these leads against the Edmonton Oilers? It's like the Oilers can be down 4 goals and they come back like it's nothing.
We got a series now. I think this thing is going to reset, Scott. I think home ice advantage is going to hold true in this series. I think I told you that last week. I'm expecting this. I picked the Kings in 7 before the series started, and it's like plus 700.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Is so crazy that you get both ends of that spectrum and the narrative trying to be correct in doing so and to make a statement for engagement. You're wrong, you've been wrong, and deal with the reality of the situation.
All of the people that analyze the draft mocked one in the first round, and even could he go to the Giants at number 3 or trade up back in that round. They got Dart, they didn't get Sanders, and the fall was on at that point.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to get a bunch of upsets. We're going to get a lot of craziness. Didn't happen as well. I mean, over the last calendar year, Sam, I don't ever recall 6 or 8 months of time in sports where the books lost, but here we are.
They estimate FanDuel and DraftKings lost $185 million combined for March Madness. So estimating not just that they didn't have a profitable March Madness, but it was a huge loss for them as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Quick little chat here to talk some MVP action in the American League and across Major League Baseball as we focus on some of the AL awards. But if we did have awards here on the SportsGrid Network, Joe Ranieri, who would be most improved, like on air? Like, who would you give that to? Any thoughts?
Oh, that would be...
Yeah.
I'm just going to opt not to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. But when in doubt, I always go with Scotty Wetzel. Can't go wrong with Mr. Opposite Picks. I'll just lay it out there. I don't know if it's because I feel bad for him or what, but yes, I would go with Opposite Picks.
Most improved for me has to be Kevin Walsh, Joe, because when I came to the network, struggling on air, was very, like a little bit rough around the edges, getting in and out of breaks, took him under my wing here, and I think now is the time that we can actually acknowledge that he's turned into a pretty good on-air host, but it was rough for a while. Most improved talent on air at the SportsGrid Network, Kevin Walsh. We'll get him that award a little bit later, maybe a gift certificate, something like that to take the fiance out to eat and have some fun. But that's my award here. But let's get to the real awards market. Is it already over in the American League? Is it? Aaron Judge, minus 600. Joe, April, May, June, July, August, September, into parts of October. That's how long the Major League Baseball season is. We have a minus 600 MVP after 1 month of the season. Talk to me about that price point. And also, is it value? Because we took the Cam Ward, hey, minus 1,000. That's ridiculous. He ended up minus 20,000. So there was value on minus 1,000. Minus 600. Where does Judge? He can't go higher than this early in the season, can he?
Well, the problem was Cam Ward wasn't playing any football where we had to worry about something happening to him. The problem with Judge is that, stubs his toe or, falls down. That's a big man. Things can go wrong. But I can tell you this, if he stays healthy, and just looking over we were just laughing about it, the start of last year in April, he was hitting 200, and we were all going, what's wrong with Aaron Judge? And then from May 1st last year to this year, he's hitting 362. He's got a slugging percentage of 760. He's got, 62 home runs since May 1st of a year ago. He's got a 13 WAR right now. I mean, it's over the last year, nobody has been better than Aaron Judge hitting the ball and playing baseball. And I don't see how that stops unless an injury happens along the way. So he's as good a shoe-in as anything right now for that award.
It looks like right now he could break his leg on May 1st and not play another game and still be the MVP and say, that's crazy. Mike Trout, who just hurt his knee, is hitting 190, is fourth in line in the odds market at the FanDuel Sportsbook to win MVP. A guy that just got injured hitting 190. What happened to the American League? Is it going to be that easy? It's Aaron Judge. My goodness. Like Bobby Witt's great baseball player. Gunnar Henderson is struggling out of the gate after being injured. Alex Bregman has had a very good season start here for the Red Sox. But Mike Trout in fourth after getting injured and also hitting 190. Make it make sense. It absolutely does not make some sense. Now, we don't have the heavy favorites here, Joe, in the Cy Young market, but Tarek Skubal plus 210 price, Garrett Crochet plus 270, Hunter Brown 5-1. Look at Jacob deGrom in sixth place in the odds market at 20-1. Is it Skubal's trying to go back to back?
It's kind of hard to argue. He's lights out once again. The only team that seems to give him any difficulty is the Kansas City Royals, which is laughable. Yeah. But everybody else, he has been, just lights out. What to me, front runner and will be the rest of the season as well.
How about comeback player of the year, our favorite awards market here, Spencer Torkelson? And again, what did you come back from? Stinking? Like, what is that?
Yeah. I hate that award. I really do. I don't understand that. And no, I don't like that award. But, I guess DeGrom would have to be considered in that conversation too as well if he can figure it out. So there are some other names for sure.
Yeah, I don't see it right now on my thing here, so I'm glad that we actually have the odds listed up here because I don't see the comeback player of the year. We should get down to some more of those markets at this point. Oh, there it is at the bottom of the screen. There we go. So American League comeback player. Torkelson, there it is. Trout again. Trout's going to be the MVP, the comeback player of the year. Trout should just win it because he comes back from 16 injuries every season, regardless of performance. Jacob deGrom, Casey Mize, Trevor Story, highly biased. Again, comeback player of the year is supposed to be, I tore my knee last year. I'm playing well this year. Congratulations. Not players like Javi Baez who stink and then actually haven't been that great this year. Comeback player of the year. That's terrible. That award needs to change. Or we need some fine print on understanding exactly how to vote on that, Joe. Come on.
Yeah, I agree. Trevor Story's interesting too. I don't know what his odds are, but he's interesting in Boston as well.
Yeah, get paid a lot of money, stink, and then be comeback player of the year. What a life you can actually lead a Major League Baseball, man. Getting those big bags out there in the streets. I'll tell you what's next. We need some NFL thoughts from Mark Zinno coming up next right here on The Early Line.
your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side
Yes.
with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't
the
that
best
it wasn't as
quarterback
good as
prospect
Quinn
they've ever
Ewers.
got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian
Why
made
would it be
very
Quinn
clear
Ewers' program?
the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick,
Quinn
Arch
Ewers'
Manning is
team.
not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong.
I
It
just
is
told
incorrect.
you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm
you're
buying
doing
him
your
because
thing now
I
where you
expect him to
double
have a
down on a
decent
take
season. No, I'm
that
not
is
doing that.
incorrect
The
when I
best
show it's
quarterback
incorrect.
prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over a
not, though.
7th-round
There were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback
Stop
recruits
it.
in the history
Stop
of
it.
the sport.
Quinn
Vince
Ewers couldn't
Young
even play at
and
Ohio
Quinn
State.
Ewers.
He couldn't even play at
Vince
Ohio
Young
State.
and Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Oh, the action is only heating up, people. This is why you tune into the Sports Grid Network, Sirius XM Channel 159, the early line. It's Donnie Rightside, it's Joe Ranieri, and we welcome in Mark Zinno, the mouth in the South of the South, who has hot topics today for us, people. Mark, are you ready to bring the fire today?
Yeah, well, if it's about prank phone calls and stolen data information, I'm here for it all. So,
oh, yeah. We got Mark at the right time because, hear me out on this. We will talk about the Atlanta Falcons. You are our guy, boots on the ground, Atlanta Falcons, the pulse of the organization. Before we get into opinions, obviously the story broke wide that a prank call was made where the information came from the home of Jeff Ulbrich. And it turns out to a $250,000 fine for the organization and a $100,000 fine for Jeff Ulbrich. When you saw this story came down, your initial thoughts from the Atlanta Falcons were what?
it should have been expected that they were going to get in some sort of trouble, and the fines all feel fair and justified. Now, again, the fines are not for the prank call. The fines are for disclosing the personal information of a draft prospect.
Well, the phone calls happen every year. We get pranks all the time. No one was upset about Cooper DeJean.
We don't know that Cooper DeJean's information came from an NFL coach. That's the issue. An NFL employee, an NFL coach had data compromised, and it doesn't matter that it's in his own house. Like, I understand this isn't the military, but when I have sensitive information for the military in my home, I'm still responsible to safeguard it from everyone and everything, including the people in my home. So the bottom line here is that the NFL and its employees have a inherent right to protect personal data, whether that's phone calls, phone numbers, or anything else. I mean, what if it went a step further, guys? What if they got his address and somebody drove to his house, right? Is that where the line is officially crossed, right? Like, I mean, when do we decide that the line has officially been crossed? So the point is that you have to safeguard the data. They did not do it. Jeff Ulbrich did not do it. And, you know, the Falcons got fined and he got fined for it. And people are like, wow, 10% of Ulbrich's $1 million salary isn't a slap on the wrist. It's better than 100% and getting fired, because there's an argument to say that you should be fired for this, for not safeguarding personal information. Now, as far as his son is concerned, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but if I was Jeff Ulbrich, I'd beat his ass severely.
Right. Just to be fair, though, quite honestly, even if somebody got the address to the house, they wouldn't get through the gated community or the moat in front of his castle that he lives in. So I'm just saying, I mean, it never had a chance to go that far there.
Far.
But you know, Zinno, we were saying it earlier. It's, you know, when you hear, oh, they got to make an example of this. That's basically what this is. But none of us will be talking about this in 4 months, will we be?
No, I mean, no one cares. But the fact of the matter is that the NFL can't just look the other way on this thing.
Right.
All the other prank phone calls that sadly still happen. I don't know why idiots still think this is funny, because it's not. It's all fun and games till it's you, right? It's all fun and games till it's your information. When you get hacked and stolen into, then all of a sudden, oh, now we have a problem. But when it's not you, it's just a, quote, harmless prank. Beyond all that, the NFL has a responsibility to take action here and let everybody know the next time a coach doesn't safeguard information. Like, again, let's even talk more academic here. What if it was a play and he showed his buddies the play that he had, and his buddies ran to the Saints or ran to the Panthers and said, look what I found from Jeff Ulbricht's dad. Like, and it caused you to lose a football game. You'd be outraged at the coach for not protecting the information. But because this didn't have any negative effect to you as a fan or any negative effect to the team as a fan, you're like, oh, well, this punishment's unjustified. No, you have a responsibility to protect the information that the league has provided with you. Again, another example. What if it was an email about corporate policy in the NFL that said X, Y, and Z? We don't do this, we don't do that. And that got out. Would that be a black eye for the NFL? Possibly could. So you find the person who let the information out. It's not a hard concept to understand. People just want to be stupid about it.
Stop the leaks. But by the way, if they did find Shadur's address and a Kevin Stefanski, impressionist showed up and said, we're going to draft you, and then left and said, no lie, that would be next level. But the NFL, the one thing I do agree with is that the NFL is about optics, and the optics where we can't let this happen again. Slap on the wrist, it might be the $250,000 to the organization. Embarrassment for Jeff Ulbrich. And next year, somebody's going to get that laptop and say, you know what? I'm not going to sit this one out here. I'm going to make sure I protect it a little bit better. So I do agree with that, but we'll see how far down it goes. But as also Joe pointed out, in a couple months, we won't be talking about this. What we will be talking about is the Cleveland Browns quarterback room, Mark Zinno, which now sits with Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, and Deshaun Watson. Talk to me about that crowded room and how it plays out.
It's the stupidest quarterback room in the history of the NFL. It really is. It's the dumbest quarterback room in the Cleveland Browns as an organization. I'm waiting for the Giants to go, here, hold my beer. Okay. That's what I'm waiting for. At this point in time, explain to me what the logic is. So when Joe Flacco flames out and Kenny Pickett doesn't remember what color jersey his team wears, and everyone's yelling, play the kid. Which kid are you talking about? Dylan Gabriel, the one you drafted in the 3rd round, or Shedeur Sanders, the one you drafted in the 5th round? Is one of these guys just trade bait for somebody? Is Joe Flacco trade bait for somebody? Is Kenny Pickett just going to go eat mayonnaise somewhere else? I don't know. What, or was that Will Levis? Sorry, that's Will Levis.
That's
Will Levis is into the mayonnaise. I apologize, but you get the point. Yeah, they both stink. Point simply is, I don't know how this all plays out. When you draft, these aren't first-round quarterbacks, so the idea essentially is that they don't have to play right away. You didn't intend for them to play right away with Dylan Gabriel. But, why would Shedeur Sanders be above Dylan Gabriel on the depth chart other than he flat out played better than him in camp? And if that's the case, you look like a foolish organization because you passed on Shedeur 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times before you drafted him in the 5th round to find out the guy you drafted in front of him isn't any better than he is. So, again, this is the dumbest quarterback room in America, and I don't know how this all works out, but at some point in time, would it surprise you, with the exception of Deshaun Watson, who can't walk right now, if all 4 of those guys played a game next year? Because I would not. What are the odds on that? All 4 of those guys playing a game next year? I would say that's a yes.
Yeah.
Well, if that happens, then Stefanski is no longer the head coach of the Cleveland Browns at some point, because that's not a good situation. But of all the quarterbacks taken, and we had obviously Cam Ward there, you had Jackson Dart, Tyler Shaw, was apparently 38 years old. I had no idea. Milroe. I mean, who is the one that you think has the most success and landed in the right spot?
Jalen Milroe is interesting because Mike McDonald has transformed the Seahawks into a run-first team with what they've done, right? I mean, they get rid of DJ Metcalf and they move him on. And now they have this young wide receiver room. Tyler Lockett's gone as well. And you bring in Sam Darnold there, who I think is primed for regression and coming back. But Milroe's a guy that I think could come in. I think they'll draw up certain packages for him to run with automatically. He'll be their tush push guy. He'll be their 3rd and short guy. He'll be their, read option kind of guy. in certain packages. I think you'll see them draw things up for him right away. Jackson Dart's going to start at some point this year. He has to. You didn't draft him in the first round to draft him and stash him in favor of Russell Wilson and what's increasingly becoming the most annoying part of the New York Giants, and that's Jameis Winston. Watching him do gabagool videos has already irritated the hell out of me, but that's neither here nor there. So Jackson Dart's going to play at some point in time because Russell Wilson can only play about 5 or 6 good games, and then everything else goes in the tank. Cam Ward, good luck, man. You got an uphill battle.
Yeah, there's some interesting thoughts there on the quarterback position, but also in the next segment here, I do want to talk a little bit about that Cleveland Browns quarterback room as it is, because it is wild to see all of those names there, and the fact that you have the aging veteran in Joe Flacco, the younger veteran per se in Kenny Pickett, 2 rookie quarterbacks, and then Deshaun Watson hanging out in the back of the room like, hey guys, don't bother me. I'm just getting a big paycheck and I'm going to check out a little bit early here, but go out to lunch and see you later at this point, because I do think there's an interesting dynamic building in that locker room. I want to get Mark Zinno's take on that next, which we will do, includes Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, the Travis Hunter trade, much more talk with Mark Zinno. NFL, baby. Yeah, it's coming around shortly. We'll be right back.
Cosmo was supposed to fight Ciaran Clark, but he had to pull off injury. You get the call. You get to go in there. What was it like for you when you got that call, jumping in there and be part of this bantamweight tournament on short notice?
Terrifying, man. 2 weeks notice against a stud, but I've been preparing my whole life for it, and I couldn't say no to the opportunity, and saw what happened. I came in there and kind of shocked the world. Not kind of, I did.
Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames. Yeah. You did Dr. J. Dames.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Topics are always hot in the NFL, no doubt about it, and that includes this Thursday. And it's Donnie Right Side, it's Joe Ranieri, and it's Mark Zinno. Just wanted to ask Mark one more quick question about that Cleveland Browns locker room and how it might affect this season, because I'm already stated, and you are as well, multiple quarterbacks will play this year. So Shedeur Sanders will get at least one start, because by November, December, this team will probably be out of it. But let me ask you this question, Mark, because I'm not worried about Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco, 2 veterans, obsolete to what the future of the Browns are going to be. But my focus is on Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Would it have been easier for the Browns to draft, let's just say, Shedeur Sanders in the 3rd round and Dillon Gabriel in the 5th round, and maybe you wouldn't have so many questions? How do the Browns operate in camp outside of the veterans and say, well, we actually thought Dillon Gabriel was the better quarterback, or was there's a little bit too much headaches with Shedeur Sanders, let's get Dillon Gabriel, and oh no, look at 2 rounds later, Shedeur Sanders is still there. How does that room operate from the get-go?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, to your point, like, when they drafted Shedeur in the 5th round, the GM, Andrew Berry, and Kevin Stefanski kept talking, well, the value we couldn't pass up, the value we could. Well, from a talent perspective, you couldn't pass up the value in the third round. Look, no one has ever said Shedeur Sanders wasn't a first-round talent. They've said a lot of things about why he didn't get drafted. No one has ever said we misgraded him as a first-round talent, right? So the idea of him falling out of the first round to the second wouldn't drive us crazy. Falling from the first round all the way to the fifth tells you that there was something, this was about something else, and he wasn't, it's not a talent issue. So I don't buy their discussion that the value was in the fifth round. No, the value was there in the third round on Shedeur Sanders. So to your point, DRS, like the idea that and the fifth round is when you finally decided we're willing to overlook all the bad interview stuff. We're willing to overlook all the cockiness. We're willing to overlook all these other things because the fifth round was too much value. To me, doesn't hold any water whatsoever. I think they know that Shedeur is going to end up being a better quarterback than Dillon Gabriel. The numbers tell us that. The tape tells us that to this point. I mean, Dillon Gabriel was a very average college quarterback till he showed up at Oregon, where he had high-level talent around him the whole way, right? Like, he was not very effective anywhere else. So, and that's not to knock him, but it's just from a talent perspective, Shedeur is the better quarterback. I think when he says they're going to let them compete, they'll let them compete, and whoever gets the starting nod or whoever plays better than the other will be the second quarterback on the depth chart. I still have a hard time believing they're going into the regular season with 4 quarterbacks. You're not stashing one of these 2 guys on a practice squad. And you'd be more likely to get Dillon Gabriel on a practice squad than you would Shedeur Sanders. Nobody is letting Shedeur Sanders sit on a practice squad. I can guarantee you that.
And the hardest thing for me, Mark, and the biggest wild card here is, well, Shedeur Sanders going to be a backup? Is he legit going to go in there and care one way or the other? Or is he going to treat this like he treated the interview pro and be like, yeah, I don't care. I'll find somebody else. I'll go someplace else. I mean, this is the first time I can remember that Shedeur Sanders was kind of smacked in the face. What chip is going to be on his shoulder? And do you buy it that he's actually going to get enough reps here and prove himself in that locker room to other grown men that he's the guy that should be leading them?
Look, I mean, here's the thing, and you bring up the point that's very interesting. You notice we didn't really find out how bad Shedeur Sanders was in these interviews or some of his actions until after he was drafted. Why? Because NFL GMs and NFL scouting people generally understand if I leak this stuff now, I'm going to kill the young man's draft position and take money out of his pocket, and nobody wants to harm anybody that way. Once it's over, we're all willing to say, yeah, he walked into a room with headphones on, and when he took them off, he left the music on during the interview. Or he turned around when I was asked a question about a playbook or a bad play, he turned around and said, this might not be the spot. I might not be a good fit for you guys. Yeah, we find out all these things after the fact because he's already drafted, and the money that he's going to make now is pretty much set because of the rookie pay scale across the board. So no one's afraid to tell you what he is. I bring all that up because now he has a chance to go be a football player in training camp, in OTAs and everything else. And Kevin Stefanski will find out, is he really this much of a consummate a-hole? Or is he actually a guy who wants to be a football player and be around other football players and just shut up and go play ball? And if he does that, I think his talent will turn around and tell everybody, okay, this guy is going to be our number 2 waiting in the wings to take this thing over. And, you know, once the first opportunity comes, we're going to let him play. But you'll find out, too, as well, if he's cocky and pissed off that he starts the depth chart 4th and he doesn't believe he should be there and he doesn't put his best effort in, or he's blaming other players for not being in the right spot or running the wrong routes or whatever, that stuff will manifest itself at practice, and Kevin Stefanski will turn around and go, okay, sit at 4th in the depth chart. Now you know why you got drafted in the 5th round, and that'll be the end of the conversation.
And we'll know sooner than later. OTAs and rookie camp certainly coming up here. We'll see if he can command that locker room like you need to as a young quarterback in the NFL. Let's take a look at some awards markets here, comparative. Rookie of the Year markets. That's Ashton Ginty, plus 270 price. New running back there for the Vegas Raiders. Cam Ward, plus 380. Hunter, plus 750. McMillan, 950. And Omarion Hampton, 14-1. If we're looking at Offensive Rookie of the Year at the FanDuel Sportsbook, who has your eye, Mark?
I mean, I would tell you if it's not Genty, it's somebody that's not on that list right now on the offensive side. There's going to be somebody else coming off the board. It's hard to trust Ted McMillan in that offense. But, again, if Bryce Young took the step that we thought he took at the end of last year, he's not a bad play. I've said repeatedly, I don't think that Travis Hunter solves Trevor Lawrence's mediocrity issues. And there's still Brian Thomas there, who's the better receiver at this point in time. Unless Travis Hunter plays more on defense than on offense, I don't see him getting Rookie of the Year. And Cam Ward's just going to have way too much of an uphill battle. It's just hard for me to look at it. So if it's not Genty, I look off the board to somebody else.
How about Travis Hunter this year? There are a couple specials market here at the FanDuel Sportsbook that do line up 1,000 yards, 75 catches. The impact that you believe Hunter will have right away offensively for the Jaguars is what, Mark?
I kind of like that 5 offensive TDs and 1 defensive TD.
Yep.
That kind of feels like the one where I would go. I don't know if he's going to get to 10 total touchdowns. Most of those obviously going to come offensively, but you figure he might be good for 1 defensive touchdown this year and the rest come on the offensive side. So, yeah.
There you go. I think he's going to have a pretty productive career and see where he actually lines up, because I know Joe's chomping at the bit to get there. But you know what I need Joe Ranieri for next, and also Mark Zinno?
I just don't know if he's an offensive player or a defensive player. I don't know.
Agree.
Let's get to the races, people. Off to the races. The Kentucky Derby's this weekend. I need help. Somebody help me. Come on back. Help me.
Vegas knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Second game of doubleheader. We don't know exactly who's going to be in the lineup, and maybe you get an extended game number 1, which means tired bullpens and closers used up, which aren't available for game number 2, and maybe finding some extra shots here. But I do think the pitching matchup more susceptible, Tom, to runs here.
This is part of what we look at. Like I said, I don't expect both teams to win. So we have a pitcher who may not be sustainable at 28.6, but he's playing well right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
To the starting gates they go in the early line as we wind down hour number 2 with Joe Ranieri down the right side of Mark Zinno helping us out with some information, which usually includes the NFL draft, some Major League Baseball talk, some NBA action, but also now, which includes horse racing action. So, Mark, I'll start with you here first. Are we big on the Kentucky Derby? Do we handicap the Kentucky Derby? What are our thoughts on the Kentucky Derby?
We do. I enjoy a good Triple Crown race here, and have done. I believe I spent yesterday watching a whole lot of YouTube clips on the horses in this race that I really like, and the ones that I think that have a real legitimate chance to win this thing here. So, and I have decided on a winner. I don't know if you want me to tell it to everybody now or how you want to set this up here.
Slow play it.
I've decided on. Okay, well, you want me to slow play it, but I would tell you this much: there is a reason why the favorite is the favorite in this race. And it's very understandable that journalism is the favorite. When you look at the races that this horse runs, they're very clean. They stick to a same pattern. And this is a horse that knows how to pace well. The biggest question I have in journalism really is how will he close down the stretch when you go from 1 mile and a 16th to 1 mile and a quarter, and what the difference is in that race. And I will tell you that the horse that I have picked, and this is kind of a wild card here for a lot of different reasons, but I'm going with the 17 horse Sandman in this race. Now, Sandman has run, 8 races in his career. And if you look at the 3-year-old races that he's run in the last year, he's won 2 of them, finished second and third in the other. Here's the thing. Sandman has had very erratic races. He's had 2 bad breaks from the gate. And in another one, he just kind of, was stalked in the rear too long and didn't make a quick enough move. But this horse, to me, has the best closing speed down the stretch. If you watch Sandman races, you'll see when they get around that final turn, and they get to the top of the stretch, 2 things happen. The jockey takes him wide, and once he takes him wide and the horse has got room to run, it's the kind of speed, Joe, that you can see. You can see it's almost like when you play a video game and you hit the nitro burst on those car racing games and the car shoots forward. Sandman has that gear. In the races that Sandman finished second and third, if you look at it throughout his career, it was a bad break, and when they got into the stretch, the horse was moving and closing. It ran out of track because it was only 1 mile and a 16th. When you move this to 1 mile and a quarter, that horse with the extra 3/16 of a mile is going to have the extra distance it needs to close the gap and sprint past anybody in front of him. I think I would box exacta Sandman and Journalism. I think they finished 1-2 in this race here. Journalism's going to run a really clean race. Sandman, I think as long as he breaks clean and stays in good position, and Sandman is going to, just linger back. With the 20-horse field, it wouldn't shock me to see him around 8th, 9th, or 10th for a better part of this race. The question is, can he get clear where he needs to and find the space to run? You look at a lot of these other races that Sandman ran, they're all 5- and 6-horse races. The field is a lot open, and he's only run in one Grade 1 race. That was the Arkansas Derby that he won. So it's going to be very interesting to see the trip that he has, if he can do it. Rodriguez is a speed horse. A lot of people like him. I think he's going to fade when it comes to the extra 3/16 of a mile. The rest of them, when you get to start getting into double digits, are ones that I really don't like as much. But give me Sandman here to win. Give me a box exacta Sandman Journalism. And even if you find another horse you like, you can box trifecta them. But I think, you're talking about Journalism and Sandman being in 2 of the top 3 spots.
Post position is everything for Sandman there with Cass as well, and of course you got the Ortiz brothers on top there. But to me, it's all about the pace in this race. You are going to have some horses that are going to come out flying, and if the pace is too much, that's the problem. Is that if it's too fast, you're not going to give guys from behind an opportunity. So that's the other problem.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, again, one of the races, and I forget which one it was. Let me just go back and look real quick. I think it was the, I want to say it was the Southwest Stakes or the Rebel Stakes earlier this year. The 2 horses that got out to the lead started so fast. I mean, they ran a half mile in 45 and 2. I mean, they were flying the whole way. Still in the stretch, Sandman closed to within second. And had he had another 16th of a mile, he wins the race. Again, look for him to linger back. I think the actual post position at 17 helps Sandman. Once he breaks, he doesn't have to rush to the rail. It's not where he needs to be. As long as he stays in the back of the pack, he can coast easy the first furlong, 2 furlongs, get himself in position for the backstretch run. And you'll see when they get to the end of the backstretch, as soon as they start that final turn, you'll see Ortiz nod him. He'll kick into another gear. Once he hits the top of the stretch, it's go time for Sandman.
That was the Arkansas Derby, by the way.
Sandman. By the way, the only thing that can keep Sandman out is if they prank call the paddock before the race. Completely throw him off. Thank you, Mark Zinno, for joining us today. A lot of fun as always. We'll see you again soon. Hour number 3 up next.